your ethnicity will not change, and you will be proud of the wonderful things of your culture. However, you're enhancing your own personal identity by adding in another citizenship and giving yourself access and the mobility and the insurance and the lifestyle opportunities and education opportunities for the children.
The Global Passport Investor is your go-to podcast. All right, well, welcome to the latest episode of the Global Passport Investor. I'm your host, Eric Major, an investment migration veteran with 3 decades in the game. I'm also the founder and executive chairman of the Latitude Group, where our clients expect the world and we deliver it. So on this podcast today, we will discuss the wonderful world of residency and citizenship and all things investment migration. If you're looking to obtain alternative residency or citizenship, this is the podcast for you. So today's episode, we're going to dwell on how getting a second or even a third citizenship can possibly be the most transformative event of your life, perhaps even more transformative than higher education. This is particularly true for individuals in this region where the global mobility and access to opportunities are highly valued. And today we're indeed broadcasting from the beautiful office of Dubai here at Rift Trust. This is the beating heart of our global operations. Situated in one of the most dynamic and cosmopolitan cities of the world, our Dubai office embodies the spirit of how we transform and empower our clients' lives and that of their families. So today I have my wonderful guests here by my side. We will actually cover with them real life examples and it will uncover a myriad of ways in which multiple citizenship can impact you both now and in the future. So without further ado, I'm pleased to welcome my colleagues, both Ranny Muasher and Mohammad Motavasel, who are managing directors here in Dubai. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Eric. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for having us.
Excellent to have you guys. You have such interesting stories in your own right. Both of you quite different, but life has brought you together here, working together. As I know, you run our business on the B2B side as well as overseeing a number of our different offices. I want to expand on that in a few minutes, but briefly tell a little bit about yourself to the audience of who you are, where you came from, and how you got connected to this whole RCBI world. Ronnie, you want to
Sure.
first crack at it?
Well, I was born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio. So I'm an American of Jordanian descent. My mother and father were immigrants. They came to Cincinnati in the early 1970s. I moved to Dubai in 2013 after being married.
So 10 years ago already?
So it's a little over 10 years ago now. My wife is Jordanian. We decided that we would pick a third-party country, to start our married life and our career and our family eventually. I got into this business, so I've been in sales for pretty much all my career since coming out of university, but I was doing recruitment for many years. Okay. And that's what I came to Dubai initially doing. And a recruiter friend once called me and said, Ranny, I think I might have an opportunity for you of interest. And I said, tell me about it. And I'm expecting another HR recruitment. And he said, there's this company and they do this citizenship by investment, residency by investment. I'm like, okay, I think I've heard of this. Tell me more. He starts giving me some details and I'm saying, well, why me? And he said, well, you had a lot of experience in sales, you're bilingual, you know how to connect with people in this region. What do you think? I said, well, it can't hurt, right? We're here in the UAE for a reason, right? Let's build our careers. Let's move forward. That was more than 8 years ago.
Wow.
And that's kind of how really I got introduced to this. And when I pulled back the layers and started to understand what is citizenship by investment, how it might help, I thought, oh man, I'm the son of immigrants. Like, how can I not want to support this?
Exactly.
And if we can make a career out of it, let's make a career out of it and let's help people. And here we are.
So we'll expand a little bit about what benefits life has brought you with these two citizenship, am I right? So both American national as well as Jordanian.
Yeah.
And of course in a residence permit here allowing you
That's right. And a third.
And a third on the way?
Yes. A third already established, but yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I'm also a citizen of St. Lucia.
No kidding. Oh, well done. I didn't know that. I know that Mohammad has a story, which I'm going to now turn over to you, Mohammad and Motavasel. What's your story? How did it start, and how did you connect to this industry?
Sure. Well, I was born in Iran. I moved here almost 35 years ago. So I was like 2 years old, moved with the parents. Dubai was the home in a way, away from home for me.
Yes.
And first time I heard about this program, funny enough, was almost 15 years ago. Was working for a financial company where my former boss was an Iranian as well and wanted to acquire a second citizenship. And that's where he ended up doing Dominica. But almost 15 years ago, Dominica had an interview process. And this person's English was not that good.
Right.
So I had to help him more in the translation and in the documentation part of that. This is way before if there was an industry in Dubai as well.
Yeah.
And Dominica was lesser known program in the industry.
Yeah.
And if you remember, they used to
I
fly
do
out
remember.
people
Yes.
to the region to do the interviews.
I remember those early days.
And that was the first time I heard about it. I wasn't sure what was it. And as like everybody else, we had to see where the Caribbean sits on the map and then try to explain more about how the program is. Fast forward to almost 5 years later. After that, almost 2010, I would say, was the first time that I got known to the industry. And 2012, I was more on, as an advisor, working in a company trying to promote the Caribbean programs to the industry. It's been almost 36 years I'm in Dubai, lived all my life over here. And as you already know that, I am also both a service provider in the industry and at the same time a client of our own product. So
Yes.
I have a Dominica citizenship for almost 4
Isn't that
years.
the most powerful of scenarios when you yourself could actually say, yeah, and I went through it, I've done it,
Perfectly.
I have it.
Perfectly.
So Dominica, St. Lucia, I didn't realize that you had done that. So both of you are actual products of what you offer and sell.
That's great.
And it's very impactful. And so when did you get Dominica? Is this already a few years now?
Almost 4 years now.
Almost 4 years,
Yeah.
and St. Lucia is a recent, I think, just last year. Congrats on that. I mean, this is fascinating. There's so many different angles to all of this that I'm thinking about in my head. You know, we have this acronym that very cutely and nicely summarizes the main drivers that our clients have when looking at this, when they investigate alternative residency and citizenship. They think about how we could help them enhance, or how these programs could help them enhance their security, their mobility. SMN. It provides an insurance policy. We'll talk about the American market because they got the mobility, but could they be looking for an insurance policy? L for lifestyle. Many people do this O for lifestyle. I want to ask you about that in a minute. And then, of course, there's always this E that is both opportunities in terms of education, but also employment. So I'll start with you, Ranny. I mean, what drove you? You're an American. You have access to the world. You're Jordanian, a great brand as a country in this part of the world. What motivated you to get St. Lucia? What aspects of Smile were you looking to enhance?
There was two, I think, major things for me as an American. Let me speak from that side of my constitution. Since 2008, in the election of Barack Obama, we've seen a cultural disconnect, a fissure in the U.S. culture really.
Polarization. Right?
Yes, absolutely, and it's only gotten worse, unfortunately.
Yes.
To the extent where, if you speak with my parents, who sacrificed quite a bit, you're talking 53 years ago or so when they moved to the U.S. There was no satellite. You're completely disconnected from your culture, second language, all those kind of things. Mm-hmm. To the extent where they're even saying this is not the kind of place that we moved to back then.
Oh, no kidding.
I mean that even they are seeing that in their now they're elderly and retired. But so there's that bit, that kind of insurance against what may happen there.
Interesting.
And we hope for the best, but things have not gone in a direction that look really good culturally speaking. And the kind of complete polarization of American politics and the stagnation in decision making, and we see at the federal government level and all these sorts of things.
I'm going to want to take that up further, but I'll turn it to you, Mohammad, to share how Iranian nationals. I think the world doesn't need too much deepening of understanding of what are the challenges anywhere, let alone here in the UAE, but anywhere around the world for Iranian nationals to travel. So I could imagine the mobility piece was important. But tell us what motivated you, thinking maybe of your family as well. What was the driver to apply 4 years ago?
Definitely. I mean, you're right about the whole, when we talk about the conflicts and the complications that comes with the nationality or citizenship. I mean, Ronnie over here is mentioning about Obama's election, whatever happens that side of the world affects this side as well. So we get the aftershock nevertheless.
Are we not experiencing that
Currently
right
as well.
now as
So-
we speak with the events
Exactly.
of the last few days?
The world is getting smaller
Yeah.
in a way. So,
Good.
so this would affect. But for me, the reason I know how long ago I got my citizenship was because of my daughter. She's almost 4.5 years old, and I just got it when she was almost in less than a year old.
Yes.
So I remember this precisely. The first thing I did was for family, for security for the family. I didn't want her to go through the same thing that I went through as an Iranian living outside and being limited with whatever possibilities were there.
Yes.
And I wanted her to make sure that she has that, security and mobility that she keeps in mind.
Yes.
That it should not, she should be judged based on her character, not her citizenship. So getting a second citizenship where, it can evolve the person more towards whatever you want to do, you're not restricted based on your nationality, that's what motivated me more.
Yeah, and so naturally so, right? I mean, as parents, with young children, you always start thinking how best to empower their lives, and we think about, well, of course, we want them to be healthy, and we want to give them the best education channel that they could develop and grow, and give them opportunities and keeping doors open with their education. But isn't citizenship equally, if not in many instances, even more powerful in terms of the future, their access, their mobility? How about this idea of brand? Like, does getting another citizenship actually change one's brand? And I ask because I had a client in tears tell me how becoming Maltese was like being reborn. Somebody new. I mean, wow, that's a very strong statement. How so? I asked. And then giving the tangible examples that he went through in his life as a Pakistani national, no less, and becoming a freshly minted European through Malta citizenship, or how he had so many interesting examples. Do you guys see that, and particularly maybe more in this part of the world? Is this a reality that you could share as well?
Yeah, for me, I don't necessarily use the term enhance your brand, but rather enhance your identity. So, we talk about, identity checks and, and all these things around identity, and we are inherently tied to the citizenship assigned to us at birth, and it really impacts our identity and how we view ourselves.
Yes.
So I always, in speaking with clients, is to help them have a more comprehensive view of this.
Yes.
Is to say, you are who you are. No one will ever take that away from you. If you're a Nigerian, or if you're an Iraqi, or if you're a Pakistani, your ethnicity will not change, and you will be proud of the wonderful things of your culture. However, you're enhancing your own personal identity by adding in another citizenship and giving yourself access and the mobility and the insurance and the lifestyle opportunities and education opportunities for the children, which I have a very poignant story about another Pakistani client who was here in Dubai, had a son born and raised in the UAE, and he told me very frankly, Ranny, my son will not go to Pakistan. I'll send him abroad. We've worked hard, my wife and I, to give us a good life. We have not traveled a lot, and we want to be able to enjoy our elder years. So I'd like to have another citizenship that facilitates that. Fantastic. Did the program, he acquired Grenada citizenship. Came back sometime later, and he said, I want to thank you again. I said, there's no need. But tell me why, what's on your mind? And he said, my son was applying for university in the UK, and because he was applying as a Grenadian and not as a Pakistani, the process was much smoother and faster. We were anticipating a much longer process before the student visa was issued. And, he still had to apply as anybody does.
Yeah.
Any foreign national would.
I think the Commonwealth card probably played a little bit there.
Yeah. And the volume, of people coming from, let's say, the West Indies, whether it be Grenada or St. Kitts or Antigua or what have you, versus Pakistan or India or Nigeria or Bangladesh, these countries that are sending tremendous amounts of students, to study in the UK or Canada or the US, is quite different. So
I like the distinction you brought there around it. I called it brand, but it's really about enhancing your identity. Yeah. I mean, and I think as an Iranian national becoming Dominican, how is this reflected in your experience?
I mean, I agree with the enhancement of your brand or of a character, but I would flip it another way as well with just recent experience I had. We talk about brand, we say, okay, access to Europe, is that what we usually talk about? When you have access to Europe, that means your brand is elevated to a different level, which is more smoother. I was on holidays in Hong Kong, and then I went for a couple of days to Macau as well with the family. I had to take the little one to Disneyland.
Oh, yeah.
So you're in border with China, and it was a shame going all the way over there and not going to China for myself.
Okay.
I was in this lovely hotel, and I was trying to get the tour done over there, and everybody's worry was that they thought all the Westerners or foreigners that come over here, they need visa to go to China.
Yes.
So they had to be separated from those tours or from those situations. And it used to take them weeks before being able to do that. So I never realized in my time when I need to apply for a second citizenship, I have easy access to China. So I was one of the few foreigners, or the only foreigners actually, easily going through the tour and crossing the border and going to China using my Dominica passport, which was a shock to the people who were in Macau itself. They never knew about the scenario.
Yes.
So this is where the branding, who can actually, not only is just the well-known places or Europe that you usually go to, it's about how a second citizenship can sometimes, and I have an experience for me, mold into your first citizenship, mold into your plan A, although it was your plan B.
Yes.
And that's what that had identified myself as well.
And that, powerful stuff. And to your point earlier, whereas plan A was, well, an American, but now maybe you want to morph away from that for whatever reasons, and also life and where life has brought you, but not knowing what that could translate to in 5, 10, 20 years. True. If indeed there's this polarization that brings, and let's face it, you would have told me 5 years ago that my number one source market at Latitude today is not Iraq, it's not Iran, it's not Syria today. It's America. It's Americans and Canadians. I'd fall off my chair. Yeah. I still have to hold on to my chair when I see this reality. What's going on there? What is that concern? And it's this: countries evolve, brands evolve. We've seen that in history, right? The Roman Empire, the Greek Empire, now the British Empire, and now the American Empire. Many say is in decline, and where will that lead the world we will see? I have to remind our viewers that if you're watching this on YouTube, please leave your questions in the comment section below. And for those of you who are listening to the podcast, we invite you to email your queries at questions@globalpassportinvestor.com.
The greatest investment you could ever make is an investment in your future. Rift Trust and Latitude Group is the leading provider of residency and citizenship solutions for high net worth individuals.
Our clients are like our extended family. We're a global firm with a local focus.
What makes us truly unique is our leadership team. 100 years of combined industry experience, and we're working every day with governments to improve and build new residency and citizenship programs.
Obtaining a second residence or citizenship is the best modern insurance policy for you and your family.
Our clients
Expect the world.
we deliver it.
Hello to freedom.
Okay, gentlemen, I'm going to ask you each a question, actually two, to see how different the answer may be. And it goes like this. I'll start with you, Mohammad. Sure. If you had all the money in the world, okay, no limits, but you're busy, you got a full-time job, you like your job, you think, I won't be able to dedicate much time to this country that I'm interested in, and I'd like to invest my way into getting citizenship in that country, but I won't be able to do the time. Which country for you and your family, I guess, would you consider applying?
Well, if we say in a parallel world where, as an Iranian, I'm not restricted, that takes also a lot of things to consider when it comes. But
yes. Good point.
Yeah,
that's the level 3 course.
That's the level 3 course.
Yeah.
Nevertheless,
let's just say you were just Dominican. That's a very good point.
Yeah. Nevertheless, when it comes to this type of products, your first thing is that how much committed can you be to a program? And based on that, you decide. Yeah. And the reason Caribbean was the first option was I never thought of migrating to a new country. Yeah. It's about doing as the ease of lifestyle that I currently have and enhancing it. Mm-hmm. If I can enhance that into a direct access into Europe, a European citizenship, without a doubt, Malta would be my first choice. Mm-hmm. You're not committing fully to migrating into that country, but you're able to be naturalized as a European citizenship
for the contribution you're making.
For the contribution
and it's
you're
not a
making.
small one, right?
Definitely.
It's-
So you're paying for your time,
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah, in many ways.
And
I'm going to ask you, Ronnie, the same question. Again, all the money in the world, just can't do the time. Where would your heart and mind go?
If I can't do the time with no financial limitations, I concur with Mohammed.
Yeah.
It would be Malta.
Yeah, I mean, with the landscape of what's available today,
Yeah.
let's admit it's the only option right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you could think if you had a little bit more time available, not to the country, but in terms of not being in any rush, Portugal does lead
True,
to citizenship without too much demand in your physical presence.
Yeah.
7 days a year, roughly 2 weeks every 2-year visa that the program provides
Yeah.
for €500,000. Okay, so a lot of Americans and UAE people living in the UAE are looking at Portugal with that in mind.
Yeah.
But if you have the money
Yeah.
and you get it all done in 15 to 18
It's a
months,
surefire
it's
thing.
a
let's,
surefire.
let's do it.
Yeah. So now back to you. I'll just slightly amend the question to say again, all the money in the world, but you are available and are prepared to dedicate time to a particular country. Which country would you pick up your bags and move to with a view of acquiring citizenship?
It would probably be, and I'll explain the reasons why, it would probably be Greece. And Greece, I think for a lot of people, I mean, first of all, culturally, the Eastern Mediterranean shares a very, close, kind of culture around how how families organize, food, etc. Religiously as well, that's where the connection, at least for my family, is with the Greek Orthodox Church and so on. So there's that kind of already, that affiliation, to the culture in Greece. And the lifestyle is amazing. It's a beautiful place. So I think for me, if there was no time constraint, although there's a language challenge,
you can always learn it. It takes a while to learn, but if you dedicate, if you have the time.
Yeah, that's right. That's
the
right.
time.
Then I think it would be Greece, and I think it would be a fantastic place to live.
it is.
And for those who want to view Greece as a plan B, not necessarily plan A, because I think your question is more around a plan A sort of scenario, then I think Greece also makes a fantastic plan B in the with the current residence program that they have.
Yeah, I mean, you have American citizenship, so it's not like you're restricted to visiting these places. But if you're Iranian national, the Greek golden visa is interesting because it kind of acts a little bit like a mini passport, because it gives you at least visa for your travel within that Schengen area. So it does open doors, even though it's just a residence card. Not so much relevant as an American, but certainly can be. But I'll ask you the same question. All the money in the world, prepare to pick up your bags with the family. We're moving there. Where would there be?
I'll be split between Portugal and Spain. And the best part is you can have the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Given the proximity of the countries. If I have to be more, flexible with the program, yes, Portugal would be my choice. But if I am more patient, I would opt for Spain as well. Yes, the challenge of the language is there, but if I eventually decide to move, nevertheless, even if I acquire eventually a European citizenship, I still want to make sure that I have multiple citizenship. The idea of this industry, I guess we have reached, it's not about how powerful your first passport is. It's about you having an alternative solution, regardless of your first passport.
Yeah, well, clearly, and you're the example of that. My Canadian clients are an example of that. Why do Canadians need a second passport? It's not because of access. It's just in today's world, you just want to be able to just have alternatives. Optionality is a key word a lot of people talk about now in our industry. And that applies to the Western world as much as to the emerging market world, to the whole planet, really, in the same way that you want maybe to explore different sectors and education patterns and paths. Having multiple citizenship is a great portfolio to have. Gentlemen, we have this part of the show where we share with our audience anecdotes, little Anecdote Time we call it, where we ask our guests to share a story, whether it's funny or pertinent, whether it's about you or the family, is the industry, or a client, without naming clients, but just stories that resonate, somehow linked to what we're talking about. Do you guys have
situation or a thought
I do.
something shared. You do. Go ahead, buddy. You got
So
something.
a couple years ago, you guys might remember that in 2022 was the resurgence of Euro travel post-COVID,
Yes.
and
okay.
it was quite a bumpy experience
Yes.
in European airports that summer. And as people started to go back to pre-COVID kind of traveling expectations, the airports and the airlines weren't there yet. They weren't there yet.
It was such a, I was, for such an
world.
experienced traveler, I felt like a rookie.
Yeah.
Do I have the forms? Do I have
Yeah,
the right?
all of
It
us.
was so stressful.
Yeah.
Hey, God.
So I had gone back to Cincinnati that summer, and I was flying back to Dubai via Dulles through Frankfurt to Dubai,
Right, yeah.
Via Lufthansa. And there was a delay. It happens, That delay it was quite a long delay, and that delay caused us to miss our connecting flight back to Dubai. So we're there in Frankfurt and go to the desk, and they said, well, no problem, put you on the next flight. I said, when's the next flight? They're like, tomorrow morning. I'm like, oh, okay. So we're delayed a day, no problem, as long as the luggage makes it, really, which it did, thankfully. And I said, okay, no problem. Where's your closest? I have two kids, and they're quite young. So my wife and I, so the four of us, I said, where's the closest, hotel, airport? Let's just go crash and, kind of relax for the day. And they said, yeah, just go down this hall and go out to the left and da-da-da. I said, okay. So we go on this long walk through the airport, and then next thing I know, I'm at the passport control. And I turn to look at my wife, who's Jordanian, and I say to her, we can't go here because you don't have a valid Schengen at the moment. And in that moment, I just looked back at her and I said, we're doing a passport.
No, I said that's when.
I was like, it was always on the table.
Yeah.
And I said, that's it. I'm not waiting anymore.
Yeah.
And we came back to the desk and I said, you sent us out to passport control, and he said, yes, but you're American. I said, not all of us are American.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, oh, I'm sorry, and I said, this is not a time to make assumptions.
Yeah.
So you should probably check before giving people advice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of. Yeah,
exactly. Of course, he could go through.
So that
was a switch, and said,
Yeah.
you know what? Yeah, and sometimes it could be as, anecdotal as that. It's just that one instance. It reminds me of a client who, again, over COVID, just said, "How much does it cost to get that monkey off my back?" Because at that moment in time, Americans couldn't travel at the early part of the pandemic, and the whole world had shut their borders to them. And for 150, 200,000, give or take, depending on the program. People said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to deal with that and never have to have that problem again. How about you, Mohammad? Do you have an anecdote that you want to share?
Well, I've lived all my life in Dubai, so although being an Iranian, there were some restrictions, but I've never had that many restrictions of trying to get a visa, because it's not about access. It's also, mobility is one part of it. It's about something you acquire for life. And that's why always I enjoyed doing this, saying that this is something as eventually a naturalization for life that remains for life. So my stories were always, whenever I went through, I was confident because I used to have visas and now I have visa-free access, so I have the confidence of traveling whenever I need it, although enhancing my brand and enhancing my ability to travel
Identity,
more.
yeah.
That's there. I mean, obviously, my daughter, her first travel was Switzerland with this passport. So the first country she went to was Switzerland. So I don't think she will ever have that facing that when she grows up as well. But for me, the story that I didn't share much was how we every time go to a passport, when we enter a country, I mean, there's the passport officer over there who tries to see your passport, where you're from, where you're coming, and all the questions that they ask. I always prepared myself. But I was never asked any question whenever I went into. I mean, they just saw the passport, stamp, welcome to the country. It was on my return when I came back to Dubai that I had to use a passport office because with a family you have to go through an immigration office. And when this gentleman looked at my passport and he started speaking Arabic with me, he realized I'm Iranian. And I responded back in Arabic. And the funny thing was, he was like, how did you get the passport? And he started asking more and getting to know more about it. Funny enough, he was interested to do it for his family member.
Okay. So there you go.
And he himself became some sort of an agent or a referral,
Okay.
a passport officer himself.
Yes.
The guy who checks and makes sure everything is proper and everything. So it was such a small world that I enjoyed that conversation. I gave him my business card and we were like, he's like, okay, I'll get in touch with you. And then it's still there.
See, this is the thing about our business. For the outside world, who get exposed to this for the first time, they may not appreciate the nuances of, again, how
important what it is we do, how empowering what it is we do, and how widespread the need is. And even the passport officer
himself
is saying,
he's happy
wait a
to-
minute, I know somebody who needs this, right?
Exactly.
And becomes our agent. Yeah, there's a few those kind of stories I could share as well. Listen, gentlemen, this has been great. I really liked the conversation. Very great experiences that you guys shared with our audience today. So I want to thank you for joining me. Thank you all for listening. Please stay tuned for our future episodes of the Global Passport Investor. Thank you. For a deep dive into the recommended residency and citizenship programs available, please check out latitudeworld.com for further details.